Of the Mom and Sons Yucca Root podcast. I'm Billy,
I'm Mom.
and today we wanted to focus on a little bit of just a little bit of finance and the future of finance, I guess, for me and
Yeah, somebody had
you.
asked us to talk about finance and preparedness, um, which I'll be completely honest, I'm still figuring out for myself. I wasn't the best with money, and we're, figuring things out. I think I was always a spender and spent money because it made me feel good,
Yeah,
and I'm definitely
same here.
learning not to do those things anymore. Waste money on food, things like that.
Right. I was gonna say a good example of that is, if I spend the night at a friend's house, we might go out to a Dollar Tree or something like that, and we'll spend like $20 on snacks and stuff like that. That we don't even half of it we don't even eat. We had that big family-sized bag of Doritos that we didn't eat it.
Like, to
And
me, you're just basically throwing your money away because
yeah,
you're just pooping it out,
yeah,
literally.
yeah. And now with a debit card, I there's always that side.
Well, let's pause there. So let's go with start at the very beginning. So I'm one thing that I wish I had started with Billy very young is half goes into savings, half you can spend. So I mean, very young, even from the time he was little. Like, the one thing that I did right was we took all the money that he would get for birthdays and things, put it into a savings. Eventually, we opened a 529, and there's not a whole lot in it. His dad has continued that, thankfully, but it's a start for
Yeah.
college. But over the years, as he got older and realized he was getting money, I think he would just kind of spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wish I would have done was just said, you have to do that. So it's something that I started with him later in life. And I think it's benefited because it's always that visual of seeing it
Yeah.
grow and seeing more and more. And then you're like, oh, that's good. And then I've actually given him opportunities over the years to take that out if there's something that you wanted to buy. And he said
Yeah.
no.
For like great example, a couple years ago, not even a couple years ago, I'd say like a year ago, my bike got
We
stolen.
had just bought him a
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah. It was a really nice bike. Costco's got everything. I came from Costco. I had left it in the backyard of my friend's house, and someone had came in and stolen it, and you offered to
Meet
use.
you halfway. If
Yeah.
you took part of his out, I would do the
Yeah.
rest.
And now I look back and I realize that was a good decision. Same thing with the uh, console. You wanted to take out money for a PlayStation.
Which really benefited you because eventually I ended up buying you the PlayStation because of
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah,
But yeah, so I think that's one thing that for Billy, I wish I would have done earlier. I will do for your brother. And so small steps like that. I think teaching them about money early is really important. And
yeah,
and it starts with the savings, like seeing that money grow makes them want to grow it more and not touch it.
yeah.
And so one thing that I have benefited from over the years was Dave Ramsey. I'm still in the baby steps, like two. I took the class a few years ago when he was much younger, and now I listen to his podcast all the time. And it's the most simple idea, and if more people did it, it would really help. And I
Right.
actually think that Dave Ramsey has some kids programs. I haven't tried them for my kids, but it would be really good. I've told Billy that I would like him to take the Financial Peace University before he goes to college and just start learning about
Right.
things.
It can only benefit.
Yeah,
It can only
I
do
think it
good.
would be a really good thing. So Billy, you talk about how you see things, your future, what
Right.
you want.
Well, this always comes up a lot when you're younger. What do you want to do when you grow up? Um, I at first was really into virology, the study of viruses and stuff like that. So, like what we're doing at school right now is we're looking in science class. We're looking at, how coronavirus works. It's a little tiny bit of protein wrapped around in a shell. And I thought that was really interesting at first. I would buy educational games that would do stuff like that, but now I think that sort of is just phased out by computers, and
And it's a lot of
yeah,
school.
yeah, it's a lot of school. And even just thinking about on the topic of computers, there's a lot that I could talk about. Computers is a great example. I've heard so many jobs get phased out by computers,
Yeah.
and there's just computers are building our cars now, or computers are driving our cars. Uber came first, and now Uber's being phased out within 5 years because of cars that are driving themselves
They
everywhere.
even bring that up a lot with my job because I'm an executive assistant, and they've talked. The ongoing topic is, what do you think about AI in our jobs? Will AI
Yeah,
take our place? And I can say for myself that my job is safe because my boss can't even figure out how to use his phone. So I'm good.
yeah.
But
Uh, and that also goes for I now want to be in finance. I want to, you know, be a financial manager and look at people and try and help them. Listening to Dave Ramsey in the car, I know you think I don't care and I'm not paying attention, but sometimes I do tune in. And when he's having those discussions with his daughter, like
yeah,
you and I are having the discussion right now, it sort of just it helps,
yeah,
and I kind of want to be there for people who need that financial help as well,
guide them.
guide them onto the right path and stuff like that.
Well, and that's the one thing that Dave Ramsey always teaches is that you need to find a financial advisor that teaches you versus does it.
It does it for you.
Because you need to, this is a big important thing and you need to learn that.
Yeah,
So I think for you it's important that you learn it well and then teach people and walk them through the
right.
process versus, give me all your money and all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be just another bank teller or bank manager that's like, here, I'll do it for you. Just pay me.
Well, those are very different jobs, so let's not take away
Ridiculous.
from being a bank teller. But
Right, right.
yeah,
But, just saying, give me your money, I'll do it for you. I want to be able to say, hey, look, this is where you're messing up. Here's a great way, maybe offer them to refinance their home or something like that. And I
we're gonna
think,
have to teach you a lot about what a financial advisor does.
right,
Yeah.
right, of course. But it's still somewhere
You get
in
the
that
idea.
realm. Right,
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of
right.
investing, a lot of things like that.
Right, and eventually, I want to get into investing. I don't want to be investing myself because that's a very risky job, but having
You want to invest your money.
right, having someone who knows that field,
Yeah.
just like being a financial manager who knows that field, that you can they help you help them. You give them money, they give you advice on what to invest in, different plans and stuff like that, and see how it works out in the long run. That could be your retirement plan without even having to, with putting in $100. It could
Yeah.
come back with $100,000 if you make the right decisions
Watch it grow,
financially. Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah,
So, so yes, and Billy just recently got a debit card, which is terrifying, and I have tried to explain to him what overdraft fees
yeah,
are, and you don't want to overdraw your account ever because you're essentially stealing money until you get
right.
it paid back. And it's just really important to be a good steward of your money and know how much you have and know what you want versus need
Yeah,
and
yeah,
saving and things like that. So, and he's about to start his first job,
yeah.
so we've talked about that, half into savings, half into um, your checking account, and then
Right,
you can spend that, not frivolously, but spend that.
right.
And we've talked about, Billy's going to be driving soon, and
Mm-hmm.
his dad and I will split his car insurance. However, if you mess up and get a ticket and the insurance goes up, you're going to have
It's
to cover
all
the
on
rest
me.
of that.
Right.
But I think that little things go a long way,
Yeah.
and teaching things, you watch, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've tried to be really open with Billy about my mistakes, and actually, most of my parenting has been do as I say, not as I do, because I've messed up a lot, but
Yeah.
but I try to be open with him about all those mistakes and tell him why you should never do this. Why don't get a credit card.
Yeah.
Don't even do it. You're going to spend more money when you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Even at, points or whatever, like don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You spend more when you put it on the credit card and you're going to put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of, and
Dead.
that's where I am. So I'm like, don't get there. If you
Right.
don't do it, don't borrow money, don't do those things. It'll be in your best interest,
Right.
and you'll watch your friends do it, and the things that happen to them, and you'll be so thankful that you didn't.
Yeah. That brings up a good story that I remember. Um, me and Dad one day were going to Subway just to get a sandwich, and one of the guys working there, he had just, I think we had gone a week before, he had just been ecstatic that he had gotten his first credit card. Working at Subway, he's making his money now, and he's working to get to a better place. And the next week we'd gone, and he was looked a lot more tired, a lot more sad. And of course, me and you both like to eavesdrop in conversation, so of course I eavesdropped on his conversation with one of his coworkers, and he was talking about how he had racked up $500 in overdraft fees and stuff like that he couldn't pay back working a job at Subway. And it's just stuff like that I see people doing that you've told me about, and I've seen it for myself. And I'm just, finance is a big part of your world, whether you realize it or not.
Well, and it's always easy to do bad things. It's not easy to it's easy to gain weight. It's hard to lose weight. It's easy to go into debt. It's hard to get out of debt. Don't do it, and it won't, and just continue down a path, and it'll just be a way of life.
Yeah.
Eating. We're gonna do one on health and nutrition coming up, but that's one thing that I think we've both realized is it's just not worth it.
Right.
And it's the same with spending. Like it feels good for me. In years past, it felt good to spend in the moment. It made me feel good. I had nothing going on, and it made me feel good to buy that outfit. And I don't care because it's on a credit card.
Yeah.
Well, that just spirals, and then interest rates and things like that. You're just never gonna get out of it.
Right. And you let me open some of the packages and stuff, and if it's like a birthday present or something, like that gaming headset that I got, I was excited to open the present. And it's like that where you spend money and you go through that in your mind where you're like, oh, I'm gonna be so excited to open this package, and you're not thinking about it, and you're just opening packages. I've heard so many things on during quarantine where people are just spending because they are happy to get something as useless as a big old a paperweight or something like that they didn't even have to spend money on, but it looked nice in the moment. And when you're opening that package, and it's so exciting to see it in that moment, and then later on you realize I shouldn't have spent money on that. And it's even as a family, talking finance outside of this podcast, not eating out, it's healthier for you. It's
that just goes
financially better. It's just there's so many
you're just
positives
throwing money away. And I feel like even McDonald's is expensive too. Everything's expensive, and if you just don't do it, and sometimes it's not even easier in the moment. You could make a small meal at home versus by the time you get in the car and you drive there, and if it's a drive-through, you wait in line, or you go in and pick it up and come home. You could have just made something quick and easy and not spent that money.
Right. And it's thinking about buying stuff at the grocery store. You could have a steak made for you, and you've just spent $30 on a steak. Or you could go and buy a ton of ingredients from a grocery store. If you wanted to make spaghetti, for example, a box of spaghetti, I don't know how much. It's like $5. It's pretty cheap. And it'll last you a while, you know?
Yeah.
If you make all of it, you've got leftover spaghetti for the next day. It might not be better per se, it may not taste better, but you're saving money
And
by
it's healthy.
buying in bulk, and it's healthier. You're buying in
At
bulk.
Costco. So we do a lot of Costco, which we didn't before. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the money you save is just crazy when you buy in bulk. And obviously, for Billy and I, when we were just the two of us, now you have to be careful what you buy in bulk because I remember buying him these fig snacks that he was
Ooh.
pumped about. And towards the end, he was like,
Burned
I
out.
don't ever want to eat
Yeah.
another one of these again. So,
Yeah.
for two people, it might not be worth it. But obviously, with families,
Yeah.
you just buying a lot of things, having it, and having it. When
Yeah.
it's here,
Right.
you don't need to go out because you have everything you need.
Yeah. Those egg things that you buy for me, where you just crack an egg and you make it in the morning for
They're
breakfast.
actually really expensive.
Oh, they
Go ahead.
are.
Yeah.
But you buy them in bulk and they last me a while.
Yeah.
Or bagels, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know how expensive bagels are, but you buy a big ol' 8-pack of bagels and that lasts you a week.
Well, yeah, look at that. So you go to Einstein's Bagels and you could get like a bagel and cream cheese. It's gonna be like $5. I could buy a whole pack of bagels for that. You know?
Yeah, and it's not exactly cutting corners.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just being wary of what you're spending.
And I think that this right here, this conversation is why you have to be open with your kids. You don't have to tell them every terrible thing that's going on in your
Yeah.
world to where they worry. But I also think it's very important to bring them in and make them aware of costs and understand things because if they don't, they just think, well, it shows up here and it's great and that's
Yeah.
it, and it doesn't. And they need to understand that and working for it. And, we could do one on chores, but for Billy, thank God for his dad because he's set chores that Billy has to do
Yeah.
and he gets paid for them, but he has to do them. I don't have the energy to keep up on him to do the chores.
Yeah.
So I've always said, here's what I'll pay you. Do it or not. I'll do it if you don't because I'm already doing it.
Yeah.
And most of the time he doesn't. But having those things and then you start to see what it is to work for the money, because when you're getting it for your birthday or things like that, so him starting a job soon will be, like it's fun at first and then you start to think like, I have to go here and I don't want to go today, but I
Yeah.
have to go. And so it, how much is the dollar worth? How much of your time? How much of your
Time is
labor?
money.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
big.
And things like working in the mornings. I've heard this a lot. Working in the mornings as a lifeguard, you get paid more than if you work in the afternoons because afternoons are always full. It's mostly high school students who can just drive after, swim.
What's like morning hours?
Morning hours, it's $12 an hour.
No, but like what time is that?
Oh, like 4 to
4
7.
a.m.?
4
Oh
a.m.
my gosh.
Yeah, they want you getting up at 3:30, but you get paid more,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then later on, you go to school, you can have a coffee or something to keep you awake. I would probably fall asleep no matter what.
Yeah.
If I woke up that early. But you can go in the mornings, and then after swim practice, work for another 4 hours, and that day you made 50, 60, 70 bucks
Yeah.
even, and that could go towards anything, as long as it's responsible. And like, I'm not saying, I don't think either of us are trying to say that you shouldn't spend money
Right.
on
You're gonna
things you
spend
don't
money.
want
you
at
need
all.
to spend money. You want.
Right.
You work hard, but
Right.
be conscious of your decision. What did I say? Conscious. Cautious. Be conscious of your decisions and what you're buying, and
Yeah.
make sure it's not out of impulse or are you stressed? Are you depressed? Are you whatever? And give it a day. Like there's certain things that
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I really want this, and then it's the same with eating, and then you don't do it. Wait a few days, and if you still want something, or like,
Yeah.
don't rush to do it.
Well, and that's, I think, a hard lesson I've learned is thinking ahead.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah. You've made a lot of, both of us, I shouldn't say just you, both of us have made a lot of decisions in the moment.
Yeah.
that has sometimes completely changed our life in general,
Yeah.
how we see life,
So
how
sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, during COVID and quarantine and me staying home, there was a lot of things that came up that if
Mm-hmm.
I was working, I would be so stressed and I would just be like, oh my gosh, just do it.
Yeah.
Just pay the money, like whatever. We don't have a choice. I don't have
Right.
time to find a different person. And you look back and I realize how many decisions I've made like that.
Yeah.
And some of it was just the nature of being a single mom, but some of it was I just stop.
Yeah.
Stop and think about it. Be intentional, one step at a time, and you'll make you'll realize you make a different decision.
Yeah.
Or you'd take, you might spend less money. You might,
Yeah.
so and that's one thing I've tried to tell Billy is just like don't rush.
Right.
Take your time. And you'll make better decisions.
Well, and I'll always bring this up. I'll probably bring this up in future episodes. I think I've probably brought this up in past episodes, but the toilet flap. We
Oh,
could have
yeah.
spent $90
Yeah.
getting this toilet flap installed, and what would we spend, like
So
$2 on a
we had-
toilet flap?
Texted a handyman, and I said, "What would you charge to replace this?" And at this point, I don't know how bad it is, but this is what I think needs done. And he's like $90, and I'm like, "Pfft." So Billy and I went to Home Depot and bought it, and we installed it ourselves, and it took like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Toilet works great.
Yeah, we literally spent 45 times less money than we would have spent just having someone install it for us.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that is crazy.
Yeah.
How expensive he wanted to. It would have taken him the same time as us, and we would have been left, $88 more in the ground.
Yeah.
That would have. I just.
Well, and I've
That's
tried to
crazy
tell
for me.
Billy that, even if he's not going to grow up to be a handyman or anything like that, be a handyman. Know how to do things for yourself because, so we had our bathroom, something happened to our bathroom. We had to have the tub and tile replaced. And so we went and bought the supplies, everything. And I think all the supplies cost, it was like $1,000, maybe a little more. And having it done was like $4,500. So
Yeah.
$3,500 of that is labor.
Yeah.
And so, obviously there's certain things that you don't want to do or electrical or things like that.
Well, yeah.
But try it yourself
Water.
first before you jump into it
Yeah.
because that's what it's all the labor costs,
Yeah.
I've been doing the TaskRabbit stuff and I'm amazed at people that pay me to put their furniture together, which is something I've done because all of my furniture needs to put together.
IKEA.
And I've always done it, and it's just never been a thought to me, and I actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that I'm like, there was one that I, put together. It took me 15 minutes. And so I ended up making like $35 in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just think, you could have done this yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes, and we live in a society where we want the quick. And that was me, that's but
Want it done.
just take your time, do it yourself, learn,
Uh-huh.
and you will save so much money.
Well, and, every time Dad goes to replace his windshield wipers or his brake and front lights, he gets me out there and shows it to me,
Yeah.
That's what I think. Also, having a dad is nice. He was out for a while because we had, you guys had divorced. We were living in the U.S. and he was still serving in Germany. And we, now having him here, teaching me all these things, teaching how to replace lights, how to replace windshield wipers, we had
Valuable things.
Right. We had, at his house, we had a foundation leak. And so we had to completely tear up our basement carpet. And he was there and I helped him work. It costed us, very little to buy our own supplies. Look up a tutorial on YouTube. You don't even have to have someone there teach it to you. YouTube has everything.
Let me just say though, when you're doing YouTube tutorials, do multiple
right.
before you do
of
it because there has been many times that I have done those and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm missing. and I'll watch like 18, and by the 18th one,
Yeah.
somebody says, "Oh, don't forget to do this step,"
Right.
and you're like, "Where were you in the
Yeah.
other videos?
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that?"
Yeah.
Time lapse videos, and you're missing a lot.
I another good example of that is I just got my skateboard and I had to put it all together by myself, and I had no idea where to even start with that. One of my friends in Blue Springs, his brother had a skateboard, and that's originally where I got my interest. Well, in Arizona, I had that skateboard for a little while. But this was, an expensive board, and I wanted to put the time into it to build it myself. And I had like 3 different videos playing at once where I would go look at one video and then get frustrated and get stuck, look at another video. It would help me a little bit, get frustrated, stuck, and go to another video all at the same time. And by the end, I had built my own skateboard, and I think it came out looking pretty all right.
Really good.
And it's just another hard lesson that you have to learn, that it may take time. Patience is another great thing to learn.
Yeah.
Being patient with everything, coming back to it. If there's a problem or something, even playing video games, I might have to stop for a day or two, and then I'll think, oh, maybe I didn't try this, and it'll work.
Yeah.
It might take you multiple days just to figure out something as small as, I'll take an example, replacing the toilet flap. It didn't take us multiple days, but for some people it might.
Yeah.
It's just, everybody's different.
Don't give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody has a different patience level. And
Okay, well, we're really running over here, so I think the takeaways from this are save money, don't get credit cards, and be patient.
Yeah.
Patience is definitely a virtue.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.